It's just a huge, huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Keith Washington all the way from Temecula, California. He's with ProSites.com. That's ProSites.com. Remember, there's no commercials on Dentistry Uncensored. Keith didn't call me. I called him. There's no money exchanging hands. But I'm big into, you got to know the business side, not just the clinical side. Keith Washington is the Vice President of Products for ProSites and has over 30 years of software product management and development experience. Keith has a degree in accounting from the University of Maryland, which is such a huge honor since that is the first dental school in the entire world in 1840 and was the birthplace of the DDS degree. So you actually went to a very sacred, holy dental school, or University of Maryland, and has led product transformations at many successful companies, including Intuit, which owns QuickBooks, right?
That's right.
And Active Networks and other software companies in various industries. He started in product management at Intuit's TurboTax division, where he led a transition to web-based tax software. So later, if you want to learn how to cheat the IRS on your taxes, we'll get to those questions later. He became the Vice President of Product Management at a leading financial planning software company, and most recently worked at Active Networks, the largest SaaS event management company in the world. Keith, it's an honor for you to be here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate that.
So,
I do want to say that I went to Maryland long after 1890. So
1840.
1840. So I didn't go that year. I was there much later.
I was 10 years old when they opened that school. You know, if I tell people I'm 54, they go, "Damn, dude, what happened?" So I tell everybody I'm 74, and they go, "Dude, you look
we
good.
look great."
What's your secret? And you know, dentists, all they really care about, they just want to learn a new recipe to fix a tooth. I mean, all dentists are surgeons. We work in an operatory. We just want to fix broken teeth all day. What should they know about websites? Because seriously, I think I see as many dental websites as anybody out there. Because when someone sends me an email, I'm always wondering who I'm talking to. So I'll hit reply. I'll click their website link. And I'm telling you, 80% of websites looks like they bought them 5 or 10 years ago. There's no video of the doctor. It looks like a still photo. It looks like the photo that's going to be used in their obituary, you know. They got all this alphabet soup crap behind their name, which whenever I get junk mail, and it's always a realtor, and they're always a CIS, QBZ, WX. It doesn't mean anything to me. What do dentists need to know about their website now that the yellow pages has died and everybody's finding us on their smartphone? What do they need to know?
I'll tell you, I really appreciate you saying that what dentists want to do is service clients and service their patients, because that is a focus so much of dentists. You mentioned my long career in software, and I want to point out that long before I came to ProSites, I've gone on maybe 10 to 15 dental mission trips with dentists, just by chance. I had no idea they did websites. I had no idea about some of the challenges, but I've never found a group of people so committed to what they do in terms of helping clients. And I've been all around the world, from Africa to Micronesia, all around the world, working with them. But what I find is when it comes to websites, marketing, communication, it is a weak spot with dentists. It's something that they really don't like to focus on. And so, as you said, a lot of times their websites are 5 years old, 10 years old. Our biggest, issue is making sure our customers or practices know that you have to have a compelling website, because being found online is difficult these days. Google is really, and as well as Bing, is really making sure that only the best websites, only the best communication vehicles are showing up when people do this simple thing: find me a dentist, or find a dentist in Phoenix, find a dentist in Temecula. So you are really right in terms of talking about it has to be compelling. It has to be something that attracts someone both on a desktop or on a mobile device. More than 50% of people are searching for a dentist on their phone. They're not looking, on their desktop. So if you have an old website, that website won't even show up correctly on a phone. You have to also be found, which means you have to make sure your content, the information on your website is current. So if you haven't even touched your website in 3 or 4 years, the search engines are deprioritizing you against your competition. So there's a lot that's going on as in the online world, and we really think about online marketing and online communication with finding new patients as something that really dentists need to focus on.
I wish every dentist listening to you right now, when you get to work, not when you get to a red light, just Google your own
Yes.
website. I mean, just little things. Like if I Googled Keith Washington DDS and Google has that little deal on the side where it says, the name, the address, whatever, leave a review. I would say 80% of the dentists, it's that they don't even have their website button clicked up
On
there
the Google, right.
on
So
the
what do
Google deal.
right, and what do people see when they log into when they go and find that search on the right-hand side? There's Google, and the first thing is reviews, and we should talk about that a little bit. What's important in terms of reviews? Two is, you're right, the website button, and three is the phone number. And so you have to make sure those small things are accurate, those small things are correct, or within that 2 or 3 second period, people are just going to move on to the next link, the next potential person.
You know what my secret sauce is on getting so many amazing reviews?
What is that?
They're all written by my 5
That's
sisters
you can't.
and their friends.
Right.
I
Those days are also gone too, because
Are they?
Google and search engines and Yelp, they all know that that's not something they have ways of being able to find that out. So
So
one of
they
the things
so they
one of
so they know my mom wrote I'm the best dentist in the universe.
it says mom because it says mom. His mom. She has to identify herself these days. One of the things that a lot of practices thought was a good idea was to set up a review station in their office. So just before you leave, hey, would you like to leave us a review? You shouldn't do that either. You should make sure you send emails to your patients to ask them for reviews on their own devices, because search engines will deprioritize reviews from the same computer. So you have to. These are things that maybe a lot of dentists don't know, or some of them are starting to find out. But reviews and reputation is king. It's probably one of the most important things,
How about
other
this?
than
How about
just
this
having a
idea?
website. Yep.
Right when the bartender says last call, it's almost 2 in the morning. I say, okay, but before I write your tip, take out your smartphone and write me a review on the Google. Would Google figure out that all my reviews were written at 2 a.m. in the morning?
No, I think that's a great thing to do before you leave, as soon as you leave. Because it's hard to get a lot of reviews. You see, 100 patients a week, and maybe one of them is going to leave a review. And chances are the people who leave a review are the ones who want to complain about something. So you want to make sure that you do what you can right up front to encourage them to leave you a review, even if it is, hey, before you leave, would you mind leaving us a review? And as we talked about, reputation is really important. I've talked a lot to practices who, even though you're getting a lot of reviews, you don't know what to do about bad reviews. Even if you don't do something wrong, maybe a customer is just dissatisfied, or a patient is just dissatisfied. And I tell people, respond to them right away. Call them up, make sure they're taken care of. And once you do that, ask them to update their review. Ask them to leave a review that says it was taken care of, because crowdsourcing of information is much more valued today than what you say as a practice. It's what all of my friends say, or what my network says, or what the community says about you that's much more powerful than just what you're saying about yourself.
Now, Keith, is this in the United States, we live with, they say about 4 different types of age group thinkers. Like the senior citizens think differently than the baby boomers and Generation X, the millennials. I mean, do you really think grandma and grandpa are reading online reviews, or is this a millennial thing? I mean, is reviews and the Yelp crowd and the Snapchat crowd all the same? I mean, I can't imagine all my grandmas and grandpas that come to my office even knowing what Yelp, Snapchat, or a Google review is. Or am I just wrong?
So I would imagine that less so your grandma and grandpa. However, do not underestimate their desire to quickly look on Yelp or quickly look on Google to see whether or not your practice has negative reviews. And this is driven or has a positive experience because this is driven primarily by restaurants. Doctors and restaurants and car repair shops are the three most searched for in terms of reviews. So don't underestimate their desire to make sure that there's nothing negative or there's no bad experience that they would see if they were going to come into your practice.
What
I just
three did
tell
you
this
say?
to
Restaurant, car repair?
restaurants, car repair, and doctors/dentist. Top three in terms of
What do those three have in common?
There's something, first of all, that most people do on a regular basis for restaurants. I can't remember the last time I went to a new restaurant that I didn't just quickly search to see what someone else said about them. And car repair shops, they're looking for, trying to make sure they don't have people who are going to rip them off, actually, unfortunately. You're just looking for someone who's honest.
Well, you know what my tip is on restaurants? You know how you can separate the best restaurants from the worst?
I'm waiting.
If you want the best food for the lowest price, they always have pictures on the menu, like the IHOP and the Waffle. If there's no pictures, it's overpriced food.
I like that.
If I get a menu and there's no pictures, I just leave. Just go to the Waffle House.
That's good. And you know what? You can't go wrong at the Waffle House. Everybody knows that. There's something for everybody at the Waffle House.
So restaurants, car repairs, doctors, and I think what the car repairs and doctors have in common, I'm not sure about the restaurant, but what the car repairs and doctors have in common is you're selling the invisible. I mean, you know when you buy an iPhone what you're buying. You know when you go buy a pair of Asics, you know what you're buying. But when some dentist says you have 4 cavities, is that true? When someone says you can't fix my air conditioner, you need a new one, is that true? When I take my car to the dealer and he says you need a whole transmission, it's like I don't know how to check if that's accurate, or like you say, are you just trying to rip me off and sell me a new transmission?
Yeah, and so I just the point is that what you think about yourself, and you even pointed it out, the number of letters behind your name is becoming less important than what the community is saying about you. So what your presence is online, starting with your website, starting with being found, then moving to your reviews is so important because people, believe it or not, are no longer looking in the yellow pages to find a dentist. Even though I still keep my yellow pages in my closet and I haven't looked at it in 10 years.
Okay, so what are you doing with it? You're using it?
I don't know.
You're stacking them up so you can reach under the top shelf and pull down that pair of boots you haven't worn in 9 years.
That's a different discussion about clutter. We could talk about that.
So what would my homies find if they went to your website, ProSites.com, ProSites.com? What would they find there?
So what they would find is an overview of a company that provides online marketing. We think of ourselves as much more than a website provider, but an online marketing partner. They'll find designs, some example designs. They'll find probably the most important thing is to look at our white papers and look at our webinars that we do, not just based around trying to sell products, but provide information to the dental community so that people can become more educated and then hopefully see that we actually know what we're doing. They'll also see a discussion around what we consider to be most important, which is you need to attract new patients, which is great because you need to make sure that you're constantly getting new patients, but finding out that keeping your current patients coming back year after year after year is cheaper and easier to do, and focusing on how to communicate with current patients to keep them from going to the practice next door. I'll give you a quick example. My friend, who's been my dentist for years, decided to move to Australia, and he sold his practice. And this practice is in a convenient location for me. I like the front office staff, but that practice reached out to me once and never again. They sent me one email that said, here's our new practice, but they never sent me an email asking me, you don't forget your appointment, make sure you come back, telling me about the value of coming to that dentist. And I just went somewhere else. So in a transition, they didn't even think about the fact that they needed to keep their current patients and really reach out to them much more than trying to find a bunch of new ones.
So you're, by the way, my homies are, they're commuting to work listening to us right now, so they can't take notes. So what I do is I always, retweet my guest last tweet. I'm at Howard Farran. You're at ProSites, ProSites. I just retweeted your tweet. It says effective website design is a bit like dating. You want to put your best foot forward. Learn what to avoid here. But what you're saying is very interesting. I would think that most all dentists would think that a website was only there to get a new patient. They would never associate it with anything that could help keep an existing patient.
Yeah, so not
Is that true or
necessarily.
false?
No. It's true that the website is not the component that necessarily keeps a new patient, but we also focused, and I knew this, a year into working at ProSites, that patient retention is most important too. So that's why ProSites purchased a product called Practice Mojo and a company called Practice Mojo, which does automated patient reminders, appointment confirmations, email marketing systems to communicate to current patients, and then also send, combined with not just emails, but phone calls, print, and all of the different strategies so that you can keep your current patients coming back. And we've found that not just having an online presence today is important, but also making sure that you're communicating with those patients on a regular basis. So when you ask what you find when you go to ProSites, it's what we consider to be an online marketing partner, whether it's attracting new patients or keeping the ones that you have.
So you guys bought Practice Mojo.
We did.
When was that?
Back in February, on February 9th, we did. It's been 5 months now, 4 or 5 months.
I did not know that. And when was ProSite started?
ProSites was started 12 years ago, I think now, almost 12 years ago.
So this is 2017, so 12
Correct.
years ago, so 2005.
Yeah, that's right.
And now Mojo's added. So why did you buy Practice Mojo?
Yeah, one thing we found was that being able to attract new patients costs a certain amount of money and costs a certain amount of marketing dollars. And we fundamentally believed that we were experts in being able to help do that. And we've grown over time with search engine optimization and pay-per-click and social media management. But the piece that was missing, the piece that really drives interest in a practice, was being able to regularly communicate with your patients. And we found that Practice Mojo as a solution was unique in that it provides the same thing that a lot of companies do, which is you can send out an appointment confirmation by text or phone. You can send out an appointment reminder, but we can also send out postcard reminders for those patients who prefer to be reached in that way, and be able to combine that with your entire brand. So we found that this was a solution that was really needed by our customer base, and we think that we can do a really good job with it. It was a great company. They were owned by Smart Practice, and so we continue right. And so we continue our relationship with Smart Practice, who, as you being an Arizona person, know all about who Smart Practice is, and it's a great company as well.
That was started by Naomi Rhodes and Jim Rhodes, and Naomi was the president of the National Speakers Association.
That's right.
And when I first got to Arizona, when I was in Tempe, one of my favorite Mexican restaurants over there, and I saw the NSA, and I actually thought it was the NSA, the National Security Agency, the
right.
National whatever, and it turned out to be a speaker association. But I think they've retired, and their daughter's a dentist, and she married a physician. I guess now they run the company.
Dr. Hammond, that's right. Dr. Kurt Hammond is the owner of Smart Practice.
Have you met him?
I have multiple times, and I've been out to Phoenix, and he runs a great golf tournament to support dental health care for kids.
Sorry for my ignorance, but again, to help my guests find you and find everything you're talking about. So I went to Twitter and I retweeted Practice Mojo, just like it is, Practice Mojo, Mojo. But I noticed some of the tweets say Practice GPS Communicator.
Yes.
And then one says, patients confirm their appointments within 5 minutes of receiving a text message from our service. Practice GPS Communicator. Then the next tweet says, we'll help you add on average 2 new appointments a day to your practice. Practice GPS Communicator. So what is Practice GPS Communicator?
It's the name of the component. Actually, it's a name of the component of being able to communicate with patients by text or phone or email. And so what we really and what we fundamentally believe is that your patients, if you reach out to them on a consistent basis with a structured campaign, we will get 2.5 to 3 new patients coming back to you who otherwise would not have returned on a daily basis. And so the return on investment on that solution is pretty high. And it's based on a method that Dr. Kurt Hammond and Naomi actually figured out how to communicate in a way that will get your patients coming back for their 6-month appointment, for their recall appointment, for their unscheduled treatment plans, all that drives. So imagine, rather than just spending all of your money trying to find new patients, you can get your current patients coming back, and then it reduces your need to find new patients to as much. Attrition in the dental business is just like any other business, and being able to reduce that attrition, keep your current patients coming back year after year after year is so important.
Well, it's so funny. You're kind of a unicorn in dentistry because you have a degree in accounting. That's the other thing dentists
Yeah.
don't know. Dentists don't know any of their numbers. They know
Yeah.
every bonding agent they know all their megapascals, they know the periodic table, the Krebs cycle. They even know the difference between geometry and trig.
Yeah.
And then
That's
you
right.
ask them, what is your
What's
average new
ROI?
yeah,
Yeah.
what is your new patient acquisition cost? In fact, what's funny is I have a list of the 30 most common questions asked on Shark Tank. And you could literally go into a dental office and say, you have to answer one of these questions correctly, or I'm going to shoot you right now. And they'd all be dead. I mean, they don't care. But here's the problem as I see it. They don't track their incoming phone calls, and the very, very few that do say that it takes 3 new patient opportunities before the receptionist converts 1 to an appointment. So then they come in for an appointment, they have a cavity. You need 3 people with a cavity for 1 to convert to treatment plan acceptance. So if you want to do 1 cavity, you need 3 patients in the chair. To get 3 patients in the chair, you need 9 people to find your website, your marketing, your direct mail, billboard, flyer. So you need 9 people to do a filling. Then out the back door, the hygienist cleans 8, but she only pre-appoints 6 for their next cleaning, so 2 fall off. And then that 6 months recall come in, and when only 6 are supposed to come in, 1 cancels or 1 needs to reschedule, and now another 2 fell off. And by the time the average dentist gets to 5,000 charts, 4,000 of them are gone and have never been in one time in 24 months. So how do you address the front door to the back door? I mean, it's very neat how you're adding more portfolios. You've got ProSites, you got Mojo, but how can they go from three opportunities to convert 1 in the chair, 3 in the chair to get 1 to do the filling, and then the back door is wide open?
Yeah, our data supports what you just said. And so let me tell you how I think about it. We know how many people visit a website. We can see that. You can use Google Analytics to see that. So we know visits. If a practice is really going to focus on conversion rate of patient opportunities, you start with how many people are coming in the door. And it's not just through looking at the number of visits, but how many are filling out a contact me form, how many are filling out an appointment request form, and then how many are calling. So we encourage every practice to use call tracking software and then listen to those recordings and make sure that you're converting those potential patients into treatment plans. Because what we found is that it's not just about having a compelling website, but actually converting the leads that come in. And I'll talk about something just that's probably not as popular in terms of a topic, because I've talked to practices about this. But a dentist needs to know what's being said on the phone when someone calls. If I call the practice and I ask, "Do you do dental implants?" and the answer is yes, we do, I may hang up. Thank you. I may hang up the phone at that point. But if the answer is yes, we do, let me collect your phone number really quickly so that if we get disconnected, let me tell you about our treatment plans. Let me talk to you about some of the options. Let me see if I can get you an appointment because we can help you. That's a conversion and that's important. And so we have found that really return on investment goes from the time they hit that website and us making sure that you're getting found, whether it's through pay-per-click, whether it's through Google's SEO results, but then that your people are calling, that you're optimized on the mobile, that your reviews are well founded so people actually will click or call. And then once you click or call, that you're responding to the appointment request forms right away. And that the experience that the person has that you want as a practice to have actually is something that's happening. We have found that if you listen to the calls, and we don't listen to a dentist call, but we work with them to listen to calls, and you've found that they are losing 20 to 30% of potential patients right there on the phone.
20 to 30%. I'd put it at more 65%.
Right,
But you,
yeah, yeah. Well,
but you think it's only
conservative,
25?
because there's a lot of good, there's a lot of people who, and it really comes down to training
Right.
the front office staff to be able to it's not about selling, it's about engagement. What is a patient concerned about? I'm afraid. You're supposed to make me feel less afraid and welcoming when I come into an office. And you can convert a lot more patients and people into patients if you do some training with that practice. And we're now starting to focus in those areas. Reviews, not just a compelling website, but how do you convert a lead into a patient?
I wish you would my column this month on Dental Town, but you can go to the app. If you hit magazine, there's a magazine, My Howard Speaks, is talking about that. I wish it's called Drive-Throughs and Dentistry, talking about the similarities between the insanity at a drive-through window versus a dental office. I mean, you go to McDonald's and you make an order. You order a hamburger and a fry. And
Yes.
then she starts repeating the order. Okay, I got a
Yeah.
hamburger and fries. She doesn't know there's 4 people in the car. And then when you go and then the next person orders, and then as soon as they get that order, she starts repeating the order again because she can't. Somebody's best idea was she shouldn't see it. Then when you go to the window to pay,
Was it
she's
a
not paying
hamburger and a fry?
attention. She's talking to the next order.
Yes.
And then you drive across the street to In-N-Out Burger, and they put that little girl on an iPad, and
That's
she's
right.
walking to the car. She can look in the car. She knows there's 4 people in the car. She's not, it's just such a better experience. And then I compare that to dental. But I wish you would go in there and comment and say, I just did a podcast, Howard. He wanted me to put the views on there because they're asking, like, what telephone tracking software do you use? Do you have that service? Do you have a
We
recording
do.
deal?
We do. We use CallRail as a call tracking service, but we also integrate it with our all of our with customer websites based on their requests. But a lot of
So is that part of ProSites or is that part of Practice Mojo?
ProSites. That's part of
That's
ProSites,
part
and
of
they're all
ProSite.
saying, yeah. So we will integrate that with their website. And the pushback that we get is a lot of practices say, well, my phone number is important. I don't want anyone calling. I bought this phone number and everybody knows it, and I try to ask them, do you know what your husband or your wife's phone number is? Nobody knows a
I
phone number
know.
anymore. We have no idea I don't even know my own phone number. I just know that I can push, so push back on phone numbers. You should really focus on call tracking software as well as with companies like CallRail or CallSource is another one. You can
But you
track.
use CallRail,
We do.
and that's part of the website.
It is not. It's something that we do as an extra, but we just add. We can easily add it to anybody. Any
So that
company
a
can add it
dental
to your
so that a
website.
dental office can start recording their phone calls.
That's correct.
I personally think just the fact that your receptionist knows that now you're recording the phone call, all behavior changes. I mean, I've seen studies that just by putting a camera above a cash register, the
Yes.
stealing falls off almost to zero. And
Right.
you take the camera away and let everybody know that you're no longer doing this, that this stealing takes off again. I think just what percent of Fortune 500 companies, when you call them, says at the very beginning, this call may be recorded.
99%.
And then
They're going to do it.
what percent of dental offices do that?
Very few.
What would you put
I'd
at?
say 5%.
Yeah, at most. That'd
Yeah.
be. You're an optimist.
Right, right,
You are.
yeah, yeah. Well,
And
and the reason why that's changing, by the way, is that more, we see a growth in pay-per-click, and we require call tracking software for pay-per-click. So when
pay
you're
per click
doing
is Google
it,
AdWords.
that's correct. When you're using Google AdWords, if you're not tracking calls, in addition to clicks, then you're wasting your money.
So Google AdWords. A lot of people say, what's better, Google AdWords or Facebook ads?
Well, we're seeing a growth in Facebook ads, but primarily people are searching for dentists still today on Google. They're not necessarily, you can do Facebook advertising, and we do, or we're getting ready to roll out Facebook advertising where you can do targeted advertising to reach, or if you have a special to reach certain communities, we're seeing the growth in that. But really, pay-per-click still drives. And if you can see it. You can't even go to search for a dentist today. What you know what it looks like. If you search it, you'll see 5 ads, and on the right hand side is the Google search component. It's not until after that do you actually see what we call organic search, or what's called organic search.
So you like Google? Basically,
Oh,
and you're true. Well, you know what? If Peter Lynch on Beating the Street taught me everything, he said, don't listen to experts, don't listen to Wall Street. If you want to know if Boston Market is a good restaurant to invest in, go down there,
that's
eat
right.
there. Are the people happy? Do they ask them? Do you eat here often? And I only see people use Google. I've never seen anyone use Bing. I've never seen anyone search on Yahoo, and I don't think they go to Facebook to look for a dentist in Phoenix. That they go to Google. I mean, that's just
Well,
obvious.
yeah, but for sure. And you said I like Google. I don't. I just it is the dominant platform. It doesn't matter whether I like it or not. It's what I have to use to search. But we do see a rise in Facebook, or social media advertising, especially among the younger crowd. So if you want to attract younger patients, it's very interesting. I have a young person who works on our social media department, and he said, we really should focus on Instagram advertising. Really should. And I said, why is that? He goes, all of my friends are on Instagram. And I said, how many times do you go to the dentist a year? He goes, well, I've been once in 3 years. I said, exactly. You're worth $20 to a dentist, and it's going to grow over time. Instagram posting is going to grow over time, but people who are spending money on dental services are still on Google.
Do you think Google's lawsuit with Uber has anything to do with why the Uber CEO just stepped down?
I don't know that part. I don't know. All I
It,
know is that that's going to be an amazing story to tell.
I mean, it sounds
Yeah,
like they paid a Google employee to give them all the
to give them all the information.
on
Yeah.
driverless
Well,
cars.
right. Well, yeah, that
Well,
could
maybe
be,
they'll get a
but
big settlement, and then the cost of Google AdWords will go down.
this thing I'm going to tell you, the cost of Google AdWords is not going to go down.
But that's still a scary thing about their stock, because I mean they've been a king for forever. They invented that space,
That's
but
right.
it's still like 90% of all their revenue. It's not a diversified company. I mean,
That's right.
Facebook and Google all make all their money from advertising,
Advertising. That's right.
and Google has tried as harder than anyone to try to get another cash cow.
But that's not anything different, though, really. Newspapers made all their money from advertising, right? Television made all their money from advertising. It's just a different medium of being able to advertise. We just are now moving away. Newspapers are dying. And you saw that Amazon now is into the food business. So you're just seeing a shift of the money to a different medium.
Just bought Whole Foods.
They did.
And
That's
I
right.
like Whole Foods because when you go into a healthy place, they have aisles of chocolate and bottles of wine. You just feel better when you buy it. It's like I'm getting
That's right.
health food stuff because I am at Whole Foods, right?
Right. Why buy M&Ms when you can spend $10 for a candy bar?
Maybe I'm biased since I'm 54, but one of my biggest complaints about going to a website on the internet is I can't read it. I mean, I got a 6 Plus. I got the biggest phone screen they make. I wear readers. But it seems like so many of those websites, they're not. What is it called when the website doesn't adjust to the screen of your phone?
So it's not responsive. You have to
And
have
you
a
can't read it. And
responsive
you're taking
website.
your fingers and pulling apart stuff, trying to read. I mean, I mean, I imagine the people getting all the implants and all on fours are older than me. I imagine all the people that need root canals are not on Instagram and Snapchat.
That's
You know,
correct.
they're older people, and I think older people have a hard time seeing on their iPhone.
No, I
And
totally agree. And you have to have a responsive website. And that doesn't have, as you pointed out, a whole bunch of content right up front where it talks about so many things that I have to scroll and scroll and scroll. What am I looking for? I'm looking for, as you said, a particular keyword, implants. I'm looking for restorative dentistry, or I'm looking for, cavities. And then I'm looking for a phone number. Somebody give me a phone number, and on a responsive site, putting your reviews or testimonials right up front, so that you can provide the information quickly and easily, and then you can have the content on subsequent pages or at below the fold. And it's important, by the way, for you to have compelling content. A lot of we early on, maybe a few years ago, we'd see people who say, "Well, I can just go to GoDaddy and I can get a website really quickly." And yes, you can, and it's pretty cheap. But Google is not going to search, or is not going to promote a website that doesn't have content that changes and that's updated based on your expertise. So you should really have content behind that. But having a responsive website is critical.
but most people bought their website at a dental convention 5, 10 years ago, and they haven't looked at it since.
That's right. Please, if I say anything, please go look at your website. Make sure it's up to date. Companies like ours provide you with the ability to update your website theme at no charge. So all you have to do for our customers, you go in, we have hundreds of themes, or we can customize it for you, and then you can update that within minutes to a responsive site. And we spend a lot of time over the past 2 years communicating to people, please just go update your website, because it's impacting your ability to be found.
So this is Dentistry Uncensored. So I'm sure you're not a volunteer. What does this cost? What does it cost if a dentist says, "You're right, Howard. I bought my website at the local state dental meeting. It was 10 years ago." What's a new website cost at ProSites? Or
So we have a no contract website for $69.99 a month. That's the base price for a website. It includes hundreds of different themes. It includes 500 plus pages of content that you can choose. You can change that website anytime you want. It also comes with our team, who will help you get up and running. It comes with all of the support that you have at no additional charge. And then we charge customers separately for search engine optimization. We have standard search engine optimization in every website, but if you want to make sure that you're having someone regularly updating your content, we have that, plus services for pay-per-click, and a growing and surprisingly growth market in posting content for practices through social media management.
damn, okay, that was a lot. So go through that. So that's damn cheap. $70 a month for the starter website, right?
That's correct.
And then the next upgrade would be how much?
So search engine optimization, the prices for search engine optimization range from $345 to $795 per month. And the difference is, how competitive of an area are you in? Because we may have to spend hours and hours each week making sure that you compete. If you're in New York City and you run implant dentistry, you have a lot of competition. And so we make sure that we take your website and we build content and manage that content on a regular basis to make sure you get found. Pay-per-click is $200 a month, and then we don't charge you a fee based on how much you spend. We tell you what we expect that you should spend, and that money goes directly to Google. And so you manage your monthly spend directly through Google.
So,
and then
they pay you $200 for the pay-per-click, then they give you the amount they want to spend.
That's correct, but they pay, but the amount they want to spend on a monthly basis goes directly to Google through them.
But here's the $1 million question.
Yes.
What's a better strategy to try to earn your SEO by doing everything right and all the keywords and everything right, or say screw it and just do the AdWords? Because like you're an implant dentist in Manhattan, you could just buy the top ad. So should you earn it or buy it?
You have to do a little bit of both if you're in Manhattan. You have to do a little bit of both. And the reason is because there are a number of people, there's still a community who won't click on an ad. They just won't. And so you want to make sure that those who are quickly click on an ad that you get seen, especially if you're trying to promote a specialty that you want to drive through. So you should spend a little money in pay-per-click and spend money in the search engine optimization and look at your entire marketing budget and try to do it in that way. And we can help people determine, especially where you're located. If you're in Idaho, you don't need to spend as much money on pay-per-click, but if you're in Manhattan, you know that you have to spend. What is the amount that you say you should that practices should spend on their marketing budget per month?
Well, 30 years ago, it was 0 and 10. In 1973, it was illegal, and it was 2 lawyers in Arizona who took it all the way to Supreme Court and said, hey, lawyers, doctors, that's free speech. So it wasn't legal till 73. I got out in 87, took a full-page ad in the Yellow Pages, and that earned me a free dinner from the executive director of the Arizona Dental Association to tell me how wrong that was, how uncouth it was, that, ruining the profession. And then I'd say by 95, everybody was saying 3%. And now it's 2017. People are saying 5 to 7%.
Yeah, what I've seen is 5 to 8% of your revenue should be spent in marketing. And so then it's a question of where you spend that marketing. Do I spend it on pay-per-click, SEO? Do I spend it on some print ad, which maybe I may do a mailer? So you just try to figure, you spend the time. And by the way, you track everything. That's where call tracking comes in, because you're tracking your pay-per-click ad with a certain phone number. You're tracking your postcard or your mailer with a different phone number. You're tracking your website with a different phone number.
Okay,
and
now
looking
is that
at
another upgrade then? Is that the 4th upgrade? Call tracking?
Call tracking is something that is part of our SEO packages and part of our pay-per-click package.
Oh, okay.
So you
So
don't.
what was
It's
the
just
4th
something.
upgrade? You said
social media management.
Okay, social media management. So that is what social. What is that?
So what? Yep,
what does that cost and what does that include?
Yep. So social media management ranges between $149 to $300 per month. And what we do is we, of course, make sure that your Facebook page, many practices have a Facebook page, but it doesn't match your brand. So we make sure that your Facebook page matches your brand. And then based on the different package that you buy, we post compelling information on your Facebook page on a regular basis so that you are getting found by your patients on Facebook and on Instagram. So we're posting on your behalf really interesting or compelling information about dentistry, not about your kids, not about what you would do on your personal Facebook page, but things that will keep your presence on Facebook current. I found when I started looking at this 3 years ago that many practices had set up a Facebook page and they posted something that says, "We're here," and that was the last time. And I don't know if customers know this or practices know this, but Facebook doesn't show everybody everything. Facebook decides what I see on my news feed based on my interest in things on my news feed. So you have to be getting yourself and getting your word out against competition, even on Facebook. And now we're seeing that happening more and more with advertising. By the way, I don't know if you look at Facebook, but for some reason, Facebook thinks that I love Chevy trucks. Chevy is out there posting ads for me on a regular basis. And so advertising is becoming more and more part of the Facebook model.
You know why I think everybody loves Facebook? It's because the icon on your app is an F. And when they look down, they just think they're looking at their grade card all through high school and grammar school. And they go, hey, that's me. That's me. I'm the one over there with the F. How did my report card get on my cell phone?
That's great.
So when you say social media, at the end of the day, is it pretty much just Facebook? Because Instagram is owned by Facebook too.
That's right.
I mean, do you think there's a reason to pay attention?
It's really Facebook and Twitter for us.
Okay, so
yeah, we take that content and we post it on Twitter as well.
What about Pinterest, Google Plus, LinkedIn, Snapchat? That's the
yeah. So my research shows that those things, Pinterest is certainly a niche market. So you're less careful about what you say on the podcast than I do, but I'd say that Pinterest is something that my wife will look at much more. I don't even have a Pinterest account, and most It's more of
It's mostly female. I've read that
mostly
several times.
mostly female, and they're looking for things that help in terms of art. LinkedIn is a compelling platform, but we have found that LinkedIn is something that I go to when I'm thinking about other businesses or thinking about my network of businesses, not necessarily looking for a service. It may change its model over time, but
Well,
just like Google, yeah, just like
luck,
Google, it's dominant.
luckily, Microsoft just bought LinkedIn, so
Yes.
I'm sure it'll be riddled with bugs and go to hell in a handbasket. I mean, when's the last time you had a Microsoft update that just wasn't that didn't make your IT manager start drinking again?
Yes, and you cannot talk to me about upgrades of computers because I just did it last week, and I was so afraid I wouldn't even be able to Skype with you today, and I had my IT team.
I don't know why they even let Microsoft go away from. I mean Microsoft, they'll sell you a piece of software for $150,
Yes.
but then you have to pay your IT man $300 because they don't even fix their bugs before it's out. I mean, yeah, I mean it's just God. And then you always see Bill Gates out there. He's giving all this money to charity. It's like,
Give some to you.
you were the worst guy for 30 years, and now you're Gandhi. You know, now you're Gandhi. It's
That
like,
is
oh
great.
my God. I mean, the U.S. sued him, 20 states sued him, the EU sued him, and now and they're still doing it. I mean,
Yeah.
why can't they just pass a law that Microsoft can't release one software update just one time where they got all the bugs out first?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, I'll tell you, I do understand the platform, though. My wife has a Mac, and even though I'm an Apple iPhone user and iPad user, I cannot use a Mac.
Same here. I'm
So
exactly the same.
just
It was
can't
my
figure
son
it out.
Ryan here. When he graduated from college, he said, "Dad, look, I'm telling you, you're an old ancient idiot. You need to
Right.
get this deal." So he convinced me. So fine, so okay, I will do it. I know it'll suck, but I'll do it for a month because I love my iPhone.
Right.
My God, I mean, if I had to be a CEO of my company on a Apple, I just would
Yeah,
quit.
I'd be in trouble. I just tell my wife when she wants me to work on something, just forward that document to me on my computer and I'll work on it then because
Well,
I can't figure it.
hopefully, if Microsoft has a brain, and they don't, that now that they own Skype and LinkedIn, it'd be so nice if I went to your page on LinkedIn and could do like a FaceTime call on an iPhone. I mean,
That's
I'd love
right.
to just go to your profile, tap your picture with my thumb, and then we're Skyping each other.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, so don't look
Exactly.
for that to happen because that would be way too obvious.
Yeah.
Um, so so basically, the thing that I always wonder about these stocks, um, like when you're looking at these publicly traded companies, is I've never given Twitter a dollar or Pinterest or Skype. I mean, the only person you see anybody buying an ad is Google and Facebook. But I mean, what's the future of Twitter and LinkedIn and Pinterest and Google Plus if nobody knows anyone who's ever given them a dollar?
You know what? I was thinking about this yesterday, and I don't know how to look forward as much in that realm. But I'll tell you this, because one of the things that I was thinking about, what's different in the last 6 months, and I think that when it comes to dentistry and marketing and technology, we have to be willing to adapt. And I'll give you just an example that's not necessarily dentistry. 6 months ago, or over the past 6 months, our family spend on Amazon is up 300%. Just in our family alone, something happened. A tipping point happened in our home that all of a sudden we spend a tremendous amount of money online to buy things than we did just 6 months ago. And so I've learned that I have to be, and we have to be willing to adapt to technology as it comes on. As a company, I have to be willing to be in front of it all the time and make sure that when the dentists are ready. But dentists and practices really need to focus on adapting and changing rapidly and not letting things stick around for a long time. You have to be able to have an updated website. You have to make sure that if you don't have the right front office person, that you train them or find a new person. You have to start to think about the business of your practice much more than it is, I just want to, take care of a patient.
That is exactly what Peter Lynch would say. Is in investing, what's happening in your family?
Right.
What are you doing? I mean, I cannot believe that you're saying that because just literally, I mean, I think it was just 1 month ago, I downloaded the Arizona Prime deal because
That's right.
I would always ask, when my staff, can you do this? Can you do this? And they'd always say, Howard, I know you're intellectually challenged and your mom dropped you when you're little, but I swear to God, and so one day someone just said, come on, let's just try it one time. And it's like, that was the easiest damn thing in the world. So now it's easier for me to go to Amazon Prime and click it than it is to call my staff or email them or text them and saying, can you get me this or that or
Correct.
that?
Yeah. And
I
then
mean,
it just shows up sometimes the same day.
And then my next worst idea was to give it to all 4 of my boys. That was the
Right. Yes.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
the worst
Well,
idea.
we have a 14-year-old who somehow decides he wants to buy candy through Amazon, and next thing you know, a big bag of candy shows up.
So is that your oldest?
No, my oldest is 24. We have 2 children, one at 24 and one at 14.
Both boys?
Both boys and both our kids, and we thought we were done, and then 10 years later, here comes another one, and it's been a great joy.
That was so cool. We had the same thing in our family when my little baby sister Shelly was I was 17, I was senior in high school. She's a freshman in high school, so she was 14. And Mom
Right.
and Dad were devoutly Catholic, went to mass every day, so they had a little Vatican roulette birth control going on, and had my little brother Paul.
Yes.
And everybody was so like, oh my God, this is the end of the world. And looking back, that was such an amazing gift. You know what I mean? I mean, just the gift from nowhere.
It's a gift because my wife would be stuck with me without our 14.
Yeah. So,
One thing, by the way, you haven't asked me about that I don't know, but it makes me wonder if it's not well known in the industry, and that's the Americans with Disabilities Act and its impact on the dental practice. So I see you're looking at me hesitantly about this.
well, I think the American Disabilities Act is the handicap parking, the wheelchair ramps. How does it apply to a website?
Yeah, great question. So this came about 6 months ago, maybe even a year ago, where an attorney in Texas started sending medical companies, small businesses, and dental practices a letter that says, either pay me $2,000, your website is not ADA compliant. And a website needs to be ADA compliant with respect to being able to be read by screen readers for people who are visually impaired, or if you have audio content, hearing impaired. And he sent out a letter saying, give me $2,000 or I'm going to put you in a class action lawsuit. And this caused a great stir. By the way, I think this same person did the same thing for ramps 30 years ago. And so we started getting calls, and everybody in the website industry started getting calls saying, what are you going to do about Americans with Disabilities Act? And so we, did some research on it and spent a lot of time with it. I don't know. And then American Dental, first, then it went to associations, Texas Dental Association, Arizona Dental Association. They started asking questions. And finally, the American Dental Association made a comment on it maybe 4 or 5 months ago, saying, you should take a look at this. You should make sure your website is ADA compliant. And so we took this very seriously. And over the past month, we released an update to our software where any customer of ours can turn on ADA compliant version of their website with a click of the button. And so I find that things like HIPAA and security and ADA compliance to be a growing issue as people are thinking about their practice. And so I just wanted to make sure that those that knew about it, I found that some people don't know about it, but we saw a tremendous number of customers of ours turning on this feature for their websites.
And if that pisses you off, I want you to know that it's a fact that the number one highest priced banner ad click is a personal injury attorney in Manhattan, as we were talking about, the most competitive market. So whenever lawyers piss you off, you just Google Manhattan personal injury attorneys and you start clicking all the ads. Because every time you click one, it's about $1,250. Sargey, Brent, and Larry Page, the founders of Google, will love you. And touche to those attorneys. In fact, I want everybody to pull over to the side of the road now on their way to work and start clicking Manhattan practice personal injury attorneys. I'm gonna spin this completely on your head and turn you completely upside down. it seems like the Fortune 500 is a generation ahead of dentists. And the fact that the dentist, like say in 1974, it was illegal to advertise. It was taboo in the 80s. It's just started going in the 90s. It got solid in 2000. Now everybody's full speed ahead. But the Fortune 500, they split their advertising with loyalty programs. I mean, people like Costco and American Airlines, every American's already used them once. It's not about trying to find a new, how do you find a new patient if you're Walmart? I mean, if you haven't gone to a Walmart, so they're spending so much money on loyalty programs like, flight mileage deals. So that's the next frontier of dentistry. How do you think ProSites, Practice Mojo, how do you think we can start pioneering loyalty programs? Because who cares if you just keep getting in more new patients if by the time you have to 5,000 patients, 4,000 of them never came back? What is the loyalty program logistics that dentists should be thinking about on trying to shut the back door to keep customers for life instead of always trying to replace everyone leaving with new ones?
You're right. You did turn it around on upside down on my head. We have talked about this, and I totally agree with you that having loyalty programs and getting customers to come back time after time, or patients to come back time after time, is critical. We don't have a program to help them do that today, and I certainly, if the community thinks that's important or something that will help, we certainly have ways of doing that. But I agree with you that if for me personally, being part of a Costco or being part of a loyalty program, or for me, it's being part of a Delta Airlines program is critical to the way I think about hotels, or I hadn't thought about it as much with dentists. We've talked about it a little bit, but I'd like to get feedback on that and see if they find that that's something that's valuable.
You should ask that on my column on the right, because I've
I
seen some
will.
dentists, simple things like they'll get a card, and every time you come in, they'll
You
punch
punch
it,
a
and when you go
card.
all the
Yep.
way around, you get something. Another thing I noticed is that sometimes you'll be in a crazy mood, and my car's a 2004,
Yep.
and I didn't just walk out of dental school. If I did, I'd have a brand new spanking car because they all whine about their student loan debts because they all buy brand new Japanese cars on student loan money. I was kind of dumb, old school. I had a used car, and sometimes I'll sit back and I'll say, I might go test drive. But I notice this: you go test drive a car, that salesman, oh my God, they'll call you and call you and call you and
Forever.
call you until you got to block the number. But a person will come into a dental office and you'll say, yeah, you need 3 fillings. You're like, well, I don't know. I got to go check my schedule. 3 fillings, $750. Or maybe it's 2 fillings and a crown, $1,000 or more. Leave that office. That dentist will never call that patient ever again in his entire life. And then he'll just say, well, I need to put up a billboard or direct mail, or I need to do more advertising. Like, dentists they don't even really try to get in those cases. And then if you ask that you have an accounting major, you'll say, well, how many sales opportunities have to call before your receptionist converts one in? I have no idea. How many people even call your office in a month? No idea. And then you'll say, what percent of your diagnosed, not veneers and implants and elective stuff, just cavities? How out of every 100 cavities you diagnose, how many are converted to a filling?
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know.
They can't tell you a single damn number. And that's why I think corporate is growing at an alarming rate, because they got an entire division of people, headquarters, that works on the business all day while their dentists are working in the business all day. And that was the E-Myth book that came out when you and I were in college, that, if you spend all day long working inside your restaurant, you never work on the business of your restaurant. And corporate, they have call centers, they have people in marketing, they have a whole group of people who only work on the business and never stick their hands in anyone's mouth.
Well, I would say that the death of the individual practice is premature, but that's why software like Practice Mojo is important. Unscheduled treatment plans is what the way we think of it is a tremendous opportunity. And you're right. If you're not calling that person back, who may be worried about how am I going to pay for that $1,000, they don't know that they can get financing. They don't know what their insurance can provide, and they just walk out of there and think, well, I'll just wait until it hurts more. Or maybe in a lot of cases, I'm not, I don't deserve to get, this type of treatment because I don't have that kind of money. But being able to follow up with them in an automated way, both with a phone call and with an email, and let them know that we can help you. That's what software like Practice Mojo does, because it reads your practice management system, whether you're using Dentrix or SoftDent or whatever you're using, and notices which treatment plans were created but not scheduled, and then provides that information in an automated way to you. And you just click a button and communication goes out.
Okay, well, we that was the fastest hour ever. I can't believe
I
we're
can't believe it
5 minutes over an hour. But I got one. Can I ask you one overtime question?
Sure. Yes.
We just had 6,000 of our sovereign professional colleagues just graduate from dental school last week. 6,000 are coming out. If you were given the commencement address, what advice would you give to new dentists coming out of dental school that are going to go start up their own practice? I graduated May 11, 87. I had my office open September 21st, 87. And the only reason it took that long is because the contractor I used was horrible. And now whenever a patient comes in as a contractor, I try to spend a lot of time with them because I know I'll never see a contractor when I'm in heaven. So I could have had mine open in 60 days if that idiot would have worked. But what advice would you give to new millennial babies walking out that are going to go start up a de novo practice in Beaumont, Texas?
Right. First of all, you have to pay your loans off. And I just learned from you that I thought that the student loans, which were upwards of $300,000, were from the school. I didn't realize that it was from them buying a new Mercedes. So that I
Oh my
appreciate
God!
that.
You go in those. I got two dental schools in my backyard. They
Yeah.
take those student loans. They all buy cars. On spring break, they all go on cruises. They all fly on airplanes. I mean, imagine your 14-year-old.
Yes.
Imagine if you gave him a credit card with $100,000 line of credit and told him, whatever. When he was 16, would he have a new car
Yes.
if he had a credit card? So the
Yes.
only reason they have that much debt is because someone gave him that much credit. When I was in school, I didn't have a car in undergrad. I didn't have a car the first 3 years of dental school. We lived in an old house 8 blocks from school and walked 8 blocks. Kansas City is like Canada half the year. We never. I don't know of anyone who flew in an airplane
Right.
on a vacation.
Right.
I don't remember anybody flying on an airplane in all my years of college, let alone going on a cruise. So
Find the
they
nearest beach, lake, or
But the good
park.
news,
And
the
that's
good
what we
news I
did.
always tell them, the good news is that $350,000 sounds like a lot of money, but it is nothing compared to their first divorce.
All right, so let me tell you my tips that I can think about. That's really, and I think about this in the way I think about the way we run our business, in any business too, and the way I've thought about in the past 30 years. Number one, and I hope you can agree with this, and written about the business of dental, of running a practice. Number one, you have to choose your team well. Whether it's your inside team or your outside team, because that team that you have is something, especially on your staff, is going to be critical to your success. And I think it's really important inside of your office and outside of your office that you choose your team well. Number two, that I talked about just a minute ago, was you have to be willing to adapt and change rapidly. The world we live in today, even though it seems like you're just doing the same thing over and over again, you have to pop your head out, as you pointed out, and be willing to adapt. If things aren't working, fix them right away. Number three, and probably the most important thing, is there's still, I think the average age of a dentist is in their 50s. There are a lot of experienced people, a lot of experienced practitioners out there. And I hope that the younger generation will take the time to learn from those who have experience. And don't just come into practice and think just because you know how to do everything that you know everything. And really focus on spending some time with those who have been around and learning from how they were successful, and primarily learning from their mistakes. So those are three things that I think would be
And you're
important.
right about, finding those older dentists in their 50s. I still can't figure out why the smartest people in dentistry are always bald, fat dentists in their 50s. I don't. I've
Do we
always
know
noticed
anybody
that.
like?
I've always noticed if they're bald, fat grandpas and they're especially if they're exactly 54. But seriously, my column this month was written on this. This is why I called you to come on this show
Right.
last month as I was writing this deal. I wish you would log on to dentaltown.com and go to the magazine and go to my article this month. Because it's talking about what do drive-throughs and dental offices have in common.
Yes.
I mean, this is something that if a dentist worked at McDonald's, he'd only want to focus on building the perfect Big Mac, and that's cool. And
Correct.
I want to go to a dentist who only focuses on fixing my tooth. Unfortunately, when you graduate from dental school, you find out there's a lot of crap you didn't sign up for, which they never taught you in school. They never taught you payroll, accounting.
That's right.
They never taught you insurance. Do you know these kids walk out of school, they don't even know one single insurance code?
Right. Right.
And yet half of their revenue will come from insurance companies. And then the first Friday, they're going to have to do payroll. They don't even know how to do QuickBooks online and used to work for Intuit. These kids come out of high school and they spent 4 years in algebra and geometry and trig, yet they can't balance their bank statement from Chase or Bank of America.
Right.
It's like what the teachers teach and the skill set necessary to be successful. It's like Mars and Venus.
And that's in any business. That's in any business. I just happen to be in accounting, but they didn't teach you in accounting how to manage a checkbook.
You know, the funniest story I ever heard, which made me just like shut up. It's worse than that. So my oldest sister is a Catholic nun, and she had a friend who was a priest, and she sent the priest to me. So he goes to the seminary for 8 years, just like dental school, 8 years. All they do for 8 years is read the Bible, right? He graduates 8 years, a Roman Catholic priest. So what do they do with him? They send him to this small town that's got a church and a school, $1 million in debt. All the teachers want to raise. All the parents are pissed off. And he's like, I've been reading the Bible for 8 years. What the hell? The hell happened?
Right.
So my sister called me and said, I'm pretty sure if you just give him your 30-day dental MBA, he could just take out root canal fillings and crowns and put in teachers and students and the PTA. And that priest wrote me a letter, said I got more training on how to run a school and a church and all that stuff from a bunch of dental tapes than I did from 8 years in the seminary. So I guess it's across all lawyers, dentists, priests, rabbis,
it's a business
politicians.
issue. That's right.
Issue. But hey, I big fan of yours. Thank you so much today for spending an hour of your time coming on my show, talking to my homies. I really enjoyed talking to you.
It was a great pleasure, and I appreciate you taking the time. I love what you're doing in this industry. Really do appreciate that.
And I'm not sure, but you're in Temecula, California. I'm pretty sure I put Temecula on top of ice cream one time. Is it an ice cream topping at Dairy Queen? What the hell is a Temecula?
The best wine. Good. The best wine country south of Napa. That's what it is.
Really?
It is. Actually, it is.
Huh. Well, I think it should be a flavor at Dairy Queen. I would order it today. Have a rocking hot day, and happy Father's Day to you.
And happy Father's Day to you, and have a great weekend.
All right, you too, buddy.